Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Sebastian Gorka doesn't just hit a home run here. He exposes the absolute worst of the mainstream media in just this simple interview. This is wild. Let's dive in.
Do you believe it's okay to skirt due process?
Never happened. Due process has never been skirted. This is another fake news canard. The fact that
it's not just...
So let me be clear here, okay? Let me be clear. When an organization is designated by the Secretary of State as a foreign terrorist organization, every single stinking member is a terrorist by US law. There is no need for them to be adjudicated as a terrorist. Also, are you really hissing? What kind of a child are you? We're trying to save lives and you're hissing. Go back to high school and play spitball with your friends. What absolute
Spitball?
Children.
I've never played spitball before.
You've never used spitballs? Well, maybe not in Ukraine. Maybe
no spitballs in Ukraine.
So the fact is, when you have people, I looked at Politico's coverage. Politico used the Maryland father fake news. Maryland father, twice adjudicated by an immigration judge to be here illegally and to be deported. An individual who's arrested on body cam footage, anyone watching right now can watch him being stopped by local police with 7 illegals in his vehicle and no driving license. An individual involved in human trafficking who beat his fiancée. And this is a Maryland father for Politico. You don't need and you don't get the due process if you're a member of a terrorist organization.
Well,
Next you'll be
some
saying,
judges, including those appointed by President Trump, disagree.
Well, so what? Could they be wrong? Could a judge possibly be wrong? Maybe.
Well, that's why we have the process, and this is likely going to go
No.
up to the
You're not
Supreme
listening. If you are a terrorist of an FTO, it's not a traffic ticket. You don't go to county court. You're a member of a federally designated terrorist organization. It's really that simple. If you're a wife beater and a human trafficker, goodbye.
Abrego Garcia case aside, in the interest of getting folks that you believe are bad actors.
Belief. So again, why are you saying belief?
Because
let's go back to this.
Given a lot of evidence.
110,000 deaths a year a question of belief?
Absolutely not.
Nobody recovers from fentanyl. You know that. When you overdose on fentanyl,
and that is devastated.
Die.
And I've met many families who have been devastated by it. However, we also have a process in this country for figuring out who the bad actors are.
And we figured it out. It's the 6 cartels and the 2 gangs that have caused 110,000
Which is understandable. I think
a year.
Where the tricky point is the evidence, which due process usually helps provide,
why are you
of whether
talking as if
or
these
not.
Are people who are
because
U.S.
we
citizens?
don't know, because we due process.
So you're defending members of FTOs.
No, I'm not defending anybody.
You are. No, what you're doing right now is you're sending designated terrorists should have the rights of somebody who's in a contractual dispute.
I think that transparency in why that designation is given to a certain person is important.
It's very easy what the transparency is. It's like a member of Al-Qaeda. If you're a member of Al-Qaeda, you're a terrorist.
How do you know if they're members of these gangs? What I'm saying is...
You mean the tattoos MS-13 on their knuckles doesn't help it? Do you have tattoos of Al-Qaeda?
The tattoo did not say MS-13. I don't want to get into that.
Oh, of course it does. It's just accidents that the 4 symbols represent the letters MS. See, this is why Politico is a joke. This is why you are gutter press and fake news. That those 4 symbols that just happen to comport with the letters MS and the numbers 13 don't, in this case, represent MS-13. You're sitting here live defending a member of MS-13. That's why I regret coming here, because this isn't journalism, this is protecting those who hate America. Shame on you. We are saving lives. Sir. Saving lives. How about Maryland fathers compared to Maryland mothers? Like Rachel Marin, mother of 5, raped and murdered and thrown in a ditch. How about Jocelyn Nungare, age 12, raped a mile from her home and thrown in a ditch. It's strange that Politico doesn't do articles about her, that mother, or that 12-year-old girl. Why is that? Why is the MS-13 guy with the knuckle tattoos more important in terms of due process than the lives of 12-year-old girls?
Little known world history fact, don't mess with the Hungarians, okay? They do not play around, okay? Sebastian Gorka is an American of Hungarian ancestry, and by the way, Viktor Orban is trying to save Central Europe from itself. They know what kind of terrible things that they've accidentally opened themselves up to. Now they're trying to fix some of their problems. Donald Trump is doing the same thing, and Sebastian Gorka was forced out by anti-MAGA forces back in 2017. Back when I didn't pay quite as much attention as I should. Now he's back with a vengeance in the Trump administration, and he is speaking the truth to Politico to the point that even he regrets coming onto any of their platforms whatsoever. And good for him. Good for him. Because the whole point of a good media, a good journalism, a good fourth estate is to be asking fundamental questions and grilling people and holding politicians' feet to the fire. I remember seeing cartoons from World War II, and I'm not talking about Walt Disney or Warner Brothers cartoons. I'm talking about political ones. Ironically enough, by Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss. He actually used to write, I can't remember if it was for the New Republic. It was a fairly leftist journal, but they were based in many other regards because they despised what was going on in Europe. And I remember a picture of the press taking pot shots, having a bow and arrow, I guess taking shots at generals. I remember the general. I think it was General Patterson, my own last name. And so that's why it sticks out in my head so much. And then I remember movies like All the President's Men. We had a golden age after World War II where the press wasn't as ridiculous towards politicians and instead tried to get the news as much as they could. But after movies like All the President's Men, the press then became a weaponized version of the Fourth Estate and decided to be as painful and as annoying as possible, to the point now where a member of the Trump administration has to grill Politico in order to get the truth out there. This is opposite world. This is clown world. This should not be happening. We should be living in a world where Politico is asking, well, wait a minute. What did Braille Garcia have tattoos on his knuckles? Why was he picked up with two known MS-13 members outside of a Home Depot in Maryland? Why is it that the sitting senator from Maryland, cared more about Braille Garcia than the woman slain by an illegal migrant? Her name was Rachel Morin. And every time I bring up Rachel Morin, I have to say her name. Her name was Laken Riley, as a Georgia boy. A good Fourth Estate, a good press corps would be asking questions like this, but we don't get that anymore. We don't. Instead, we have a press that believes that it is not only telling the truth, but also has to protect themselves from any and all criticism, particularly from people like Sebastian Gorka, who know right from wrong, who have realized the hard way time and time again, just like Donald Trump has. That's why he hired Gorka for the second time, and has realized the hard way that the world is an awful place run by these elites in media, like Politico, Reuters, the AP, The Hill. The reason I'm singling these places out compared to the New York Times, the Washington Post, that's because those journals and those newspapers, they know that they're spewing nonsense. AP, The Hill, Politico, Reuters, they think that they're just spreading the news. They're not doing that here. And I believe her name is Dasha Burns. That's what I have on my screen. She's trying to ask certain questions, but realizing not only is she in over her head, she has also overshot the drop zone. She has realized, and so is Gorka here, that she has lost control of the plot, and now Sebastian Gorka is telling the unmitigated truth about not only Braille Garcia, who isn't a card-carrying member of MS-13, he is an alleged member, but he was picked up with other MS-13 members. That story of him trafficking people, he got picked up in the state of Tennessee. They released him because it was going to be too much of a headache to process everyone. That's how bad things were under the past 4 years. That's how weird things were ever since Braille Garcia illegally migrated here to the United States in 2011. we have had the doors blown open, not only on stories like this, but we've had the mainstream media obfuscate and lie about reality, continuing to sell you nonsense while trying to pretend that they are speaking the truth. And they're not. They're not telling the truth. They are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. The good press corps would be asking, why is Joe Biden acting so funny? Why is he walking like a giant chicken? Seriously, look at the old footage of Joe Biden walking. He's got this weird way of walking where he has to pick up his leg like a chicken in order to keep himself steady. That is how bad his brain was. That's how broken he was as a man. I am just amazed that he was able to keep it up. He even had to have designated people on his team called walkers to walk in front of the cameras as he was coming off Air Force One or Marine One coming back to the White House to ensure that he looked fine and normal, or at least just enough to make sure that he was blocked off from the cameras as much as possible. Then there is an entire book coming out, and I really would hope to share this. We're getting close to 150,000 subscribers here. I'd love to do a special and just read from this book, because I'm actually going to read this day of and skim through it as fast as I can just to see how much the mainstream media really knew about Joe Biden. And Jake Tapper is about to blow the whistle, and oh boy, does it remind me that Sebastian Gorka is doing the right thing and being so exasperated here, because he is the only one in this room telling the truth. And then there are members of this audience who are hissing and booing. There was an even audible boo towards the end here, and he's just looking at them shocked like, how do you not know this? This should be common knowledge, and it's not. Because the media, also known as the Fourth Estate, does not do its job. They do not care anymore. They have reached sort of a pinnacle. They think they can stay there, and their goal is to ensure that their power is more important than anything else, and that their vision of the world gets pushed forward. If there is a deep state to the federal government, and there's definitely a similar state inside the media. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today. I happen to be lucky. Big shout out to Ryan for choosing these videos. He's been doing awesome with this. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Polit Brawl, because Sebastian Gorka is 100% right and is proven more right by the day. This is Polit Brawl. Until next time, hope y'all have a good one.